Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table. Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Someone once said, where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart. What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to investing intentionally.
Okay, now here we are again. Good evening and welcome to 3/4 of the way through April 21st, the Right Side podcast with my very special guest, Mr. John Conley. Thank you, John, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the big bad bond of Brighton High School. Brighton's big bad bond. We might as well just go all B's, right? We're going to talk about, John is, for those of you, for both of you out there that may not know this, John Conley is a Brighton businessman. He spent about 1,100 years on the Brighton School Board, and most of that time arguing with people about what ought to be spent, what shouldn't be spent. He was very instrumental in cutting costs and getting the Brighton out of debt, and he had all kinds of good things happen. So John is a watchdog when it comes to Brighton schools. So when John comes and says, we have a problem, there's a big bond that Brighton's asking for that is neither needed, it's excessive, and it isn't needed. So I, of course, invited John. I also invited Republican members of the Brighton School Board who declined to come on the podcast and talk about it. So anyway, we have John here, and he's going to talk about it. And so I am going to, first of all, I'm going to take my join in, folks. This is going to be a great podcast. Thank you, Rob, to his followers. Mark Ashley Price, greetings from Highland Park. Well, now since the deadline's over with, he's the only Republican in his race. Oh, look at that. De facto. Well, congratulations, Mark Ashley Price. You did announce on my podcast, and I do appreciate that. So, all right, we're going to talk about Brighton school bonds. And Mark Ashley Price, I know that you are a former school board member, so you will understand what we're talking about. So I'm going to turn it over to John, who's going to tell us all the horrible reasons not to support Brighton school bond. Go ahead.
Good evening. There's a lot to this. The bond request is $156 million, and the items that were placed on the bond were thought about pretty long and hard, but they, and it's in my opinion, they don't constitute what built Brighton area schools to where it is today. And there's other opinions out there, and I've been respectful of those opinions. But the language and the amount is just too much. So we'll get into the details on that. And I've brought some slides that hopefully we can refer to. Deb's going to work on the
That was
IT.
your warning. You're going to get kicked under the table. You look at me again.
I
Look
got
at all
it, I
that.
got it.
Oh,
Well,
my
there's
goodness.
a lot to go through.
Buckle up, folks. It's going to be right.
There,
John came prepared.
there's some good information available.
Sure.
And there's information on both sides of this topic, and both are valuable. I would say that as we start this informational session, we did send some stuff up to the Mackinac Center, and they reviewed one of the promotional materials that our school, the Brighton area schools, had sent out to the senior citizens that belong to the senior center. And his response was that he didn't see anything that was not legal. He felt that I'll read it to you actually. It said here, an incident is out of the ordinary. School officials can do a lot to promote their ballot questions, short of breaking the prohibition on direct advocacy. So they said kind of it's okay, but he did take a little challenge here that they said the superintendent's mailer said there'd be a $478 savings, and the difference between 23 tax rate and a hike was on a $300,000 home. Anyhow, it came out to actually $162 tax hike.
That's a $562
Swing.
in error. Yes,
That's a big swing.
That's a big swing.
And that's
yes.
from the director of fiscal policy at the Mackinac Center.
Okay.
And now the way I got this mailer, it was directly mailed to my mother, who's 88 years old, and she gave it to me on Easter. She presented me with a little present.
Nah.
So then I got looking into it, and we, again, Bill Trombley's worked together a little bit with the Mackinac Center, and we sent it up to him. And this is his response. But I think it's important to give the school a fair shot at this. He didn't find anything that was illegal about the mailer. It was just how things are worded.
Just incorrect.
Well, it was
There's
incorrect.
a big ol' incorrect. Yes,
well, but
yes.
it's a promotional side of incorrect.
Okay.
And
So
we have a copy.
I'm going to take things we have done,
Then
we've
that's
talked
good.
about, and put
In
it
fact,
there.
if you want to put that mailer up for a second, it's
I can't put
like-
it up for a second.
Not
There is
right
no, there's no way to do
no, not
that.
that. No, the one that you have. You already have a
I don't
picture
have
of it.
this one, do I?
You
Oh,
have-
I
you
do.
have right there to the
All
left,
right.
left.
Right there?
Right there. And everybody can see what it was.
Hang on.
So this is what was mailed to, if you read it, it's the senior center member, and my mother, who's 88 years old, and I think it says on there, it says represents an annual savings of $478. Well, not according to the Mackinac Center, and his claim is it would be a $162 a year tax hike. And I did confirm with them that I had permission to relay this information.
Okay.
So if anybody from the school wanted a copy of it, he said no problem, send it to him.
Okay.
So I think we start off with that, and it's been said that a lot of what the Vote No campaign is doing is what do they call it? It may be not accurate. There was one spot I wasn't accurate in. I had said that, and I was off by 1 mil, so I apologize to everybody who trusts me. But I had said there'd be a 4 mil decrease. Really, if you look at the graph from Baker Tilly, I want to pull that one up. We'll look at this this little, and the information that the school system is supplying is, again, factual. We need to go to the next page, and you'll see, and it's a 4 mil bond. Well, that one will work fine. So if you look at that, that's actually the millage rate that our taxpayers will be charged. The yellow line would be the rate if the bond passes, and the lower line is if it doesn't pass. In the fact or fiction page of the school's website, they talk about the millage. It says, vote no and your current taxes will decrease by 3 mils. They claim that that's fiction. But if you look at that graph, you'll see your taxes go down to just right about 1 mil in 2030-ish, 31, goes to 1.04 mils. So technically, their response is fiction, which is too bad. But they currently, if you looked at it, today's tax rate, they're not incorrect in how they presented it. They're still correct. But again, it's just another thing to look at.
Okay.
So then, let's see what else they have on their fact or fiction page. Advertises a 1 mil increase.
Are you done with this one?
For the minute.
Okay.
Advertises a 1 mil increase, but it's actually a 4 mil bond.
Uh-oh.
It says that's fiction. And the reason it says it's fiction, it says it's 2.92 currently, and adding a 1 mil if the bond is pushed through, it does equal the 4 mils. So this, they say it's a restoration, and the Mackinac Center talked about how the school system can talk about restorations versus new taxes.
Right.
Because these taxes were charged to us in a prior year or two prior to this, they technically can say restoration, even though we don't pay those taxes still. They're not currently on the docket. Man, you kicked me, didn't you?
I'm kicking you.
That's
Stop
fine. I'm
looking
good
at
with
me.
it.
All right.
So in a way though, it's deceiving because it is a 4 mil bond. End of the day, if you go back to the Baker Tilly front page, you can go back to that same screen, go back up. If you look on there, and it says right there, see that? Estimated, this is 2 Brighton schools. It says right on it, it's a 4 mil study, $156 million bond. So I guess I wouldn't have as much of a beef if they just advertised it that way and said what it was. And you know, the senior mailer is a little bit deceptive for the 88-year-old mother. I don't like that one either.
Nope.
So we've covered that. So then we go down to another thing on their fact or fiction page. If you want to switch to that page.
Yeah, we got to go over to the shares. Oh, hang on. I have to open that up because that is a different thing.
Work on this.
They can hear you. Go ahead and talk.
Yep. So they said Brighton Area Schools is going out for a bond because they misused COVID-19 relief funds. Well, that is not true at all. That was somebody must have sent that question in. The COVID relief funds were, in my opinion, not necessarily used the way I would have used them all. I would like to have a lot more summer school and opportunity for students to help get caught up. But I didn't see any intentional misuse of COVID funds. There were ideas used and they used them. And we had online education probably better than most had.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Can you see that up there?
I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So we were just looking at the COVID relief funds. So I would say, I'd say that's probably fiction like it says. The fields will be destroyed at Mulby and all the work put in them will be mostly football fields. Well, with the idea of this bond is they want to re-engineer the driveways at Mulby. Chances are they're going to ruin them. It says here that they're going to extend the practice space at Scranton Middle School. Well, Mulby is not Scranton, and they're 2 totally different schools.
Yep.
And they're not that close to each other.
Nope.
So I would say the roads will be a disservice to students. It'll be an asphalt. I kind of thought about it earlier. It'd be kind of just a parking lot.
Okay.
And it's already that way because of that sports center that's there. But that'll make it worse. So I would say that them saying that's fiction, that may not be correct.
Okay.
Just an interpretation, it's an opinion.
That's right.
And then no oversight in the audits and bonds. Oh boy. All right. So the bonds,
well, they say that there's the statement of being no oversight or audits for bonds, since they didn't have to use the state as their bonding agent. They say that's fiction. Is that fiction or fact in your opinion?
Well, it's definitely they didn't go for a state qualified bond.
Okay.
They're running the bond on their own, and that bond is it's not regulated. In fact,
so then that's true.
Well, let's go to it is true. So let's go back to Baker Tilly for a second.
Hold on here.
Oh, actually, not Baker Tilly. Hang on. We got to go to the Truan PFM Truan documents.
I think you had that one on the entire time looking at the stream.
Oh, Baker Tilly.
Yeah, you didn't have the
I didn't have this on.
Yeah, I think you had to turn that one off, or the legend. I switched that off, and then.
Well, whatever. We read it, so that's okay. So you want Baker Tilly? We'll do for the next one. We'll do it right. Thank you. Okay.
Let's go to PFM and Truan.
You want which one?
PFM Truan Law Firm.
I don't think I have that one.
Yeah, you do. Should have.
Which one is it? Bond or bond cost?
Next one down. Well, here's what we'll do. We'll keep working on this. Deb's working on that. We may have missed something, but but anyhow, It says there's no oversight audits and bonds since BAS didn't have to use the state as their bonding agent. Well, BAS firmly supports that they have plenty of oversight in their response to that, and they claim that the board's facility committee meets, and they claim the full board and the support administration and monitors the progress, and you know, in that method, that is, I'm sure, true. The only difference in the state, it says, according to the school, is the state bonding agency is additional application steps the state requires. Well, according to Truman Law Firm, which is the law firm for Brighton area schools, they say specifically the bond that the Brighton area schools is going out for, which is a non-state qualified bond, has no state oversight, has less time, it's a less time consuming process to apply for it. It has a potentially higher borrowing cost, and it has a potentially higher projected millage rate depending on historical taxable value and growth rates.
Mm-hmm.
So that's straight from Brighton area schools attorney. Now, it wasn't related to this document, but maybe they should have asked them first before they responded, saying it's the same or has more oversight than a state qualified bond. Where state qualified bonds have state ratings, they have guarantees, they have potentially lower borrowing cost and potentially a lower millage rate, and they have flexibility on debt, millage, and capital. So there's different options, but Brighton area schools decided, and they didn't hide what they decided. They advertised that when they announced they were going to go for a bond. It's just a non-state qualified bond.
Okay.
It does not have the same regulation as a state qualified bond. So I would say that fiction note on the page is not accurate. I'd say there's less oversight.
Do you want to go back to fact or fiction?
Please,
or,
yeah,
okay.
if we could.
Hang on, share screen. This time we got to do this right. Share. What do you see, Tyler?
I'm just seeing the two of you right now.
Okay, hold on.
We're going to be pulling this up. This particular
I don't know why
slide,
it's not working.
it says the Board of Education chose a May election date to gain an advantage. That's the area that, and the school's response on their fact or fiction page is that that's fiction.
Okay.
And I would support that it's not fiction. The Board of Education, it said, made every effort on the ballot to get for November. They gave us the reasons why they chose the May calendar, which I would say they're probably accurate. They did try, but they didn't make it for November of 25, but they could have done November of 26.
Okay.
And there's some good documents. We have the Nolan Finley article. I could pull that up real quick. In Detroit News a few months ago, a reporter by the name of Nolan Finley printed a piece on these May elections. And in their feedback, it talks about it was made to bump to plan November 25, the next available date, which was May. As a request to wait for till November, they claim that the prices are continuing to go up regarding the supplies and things that they would need to do their bond projects, and that few months between May and November would have an increase in cost. And I mean, that is possible to a slight degree.
But don't they have to pay for this election?
They did.
So what does that cost?
Well, the initial numbers are in excess of 100,000 estimated.
So do they think that by waiting till November, are they trying to say that the cost would be in excess, or the additional cost would be in excess of $100,000 extra by waiting till November?
It could be a lot more than 100,000.
Oh my gosh! But
because of all the stuff that's going on between it, because of the townships, they won't know exactly how much it costs until the bills are turned in from the city and townships.
But they're saying they had to wait because costs would go up.
That is correct.
And what I'm saying is, are they trying to say that the cost would go up in excess of $100,000?
Apparently.
Oh my gosh.
So if we look at Nolan Finley's article, he's got it. He hits it pretty hard. So it talks about rarely are taxpayers asked to decide a local funding question in November. When half to 3/4 of electorate typically participate in election day, they're far more likely to see those issues in early August or in a primary ballot, or whether on vacation in May. There's current legislation being proposed
there is.
that will stop this May election. I can share with you for certain that the May elections years ago got Brighton into a lot of the trouble it got into
It
financially.
got a lot of schools in a lot of trouble.
It did. I was part
And
of it.
other bonds, libraries in
Mhm.
trouble, and all kinds of. Yeah, they try to sneak. This is something that it's a special election. They're only the dedicated people toward usually the cause come
Yeah.
out for it. So
And
if you want to fight this, you need to get off your butt and go. On May 5th, you need to show up.
everybody needs to come out and vote, and that was the other reason to come
Yeah.
out tonight. So, in Mr. Finley's words, the tactic allows local governments to rally to the polls proponents of the millage increases, while those who might oppose them aren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know there's an election.
I know.
And some residents won't know the higher tax rate was even their consideration until it shows up on their tax bill.
Yep.
And so that's about all I'll read off of that. But this article is available. You can look it up. It's an excellent. They're talking about Oakland County and all the different things.
Mm-hmm.
But if we take and go to our slide with our friends from Truin and PFM, if we get to that.
I don't know which one you're talking about. There's nothing called that. There's bond. There's bond cost.
Yeah, let's look at bond.
Bond. Okay. It's a
It might
little
be-
one.
Yeah, let's see if it goes to another page. I think
It
that's the
does
actual
not go to
bond.
another page.
All right.
So that's the
Well,
bond. Let's get out of that one. You want to try the bond cost?
Sure.
Okay, that one? Nope, that's
Well,
CBS
we'll
News.
stay there for a second. I think
Okay.
that's important.
Okay.
So this is a publication in March of this year that the superintendent responded to, and what does it say there? How much the bond was going to cost?
156 million.
And then what does the cost?
It would
per-
cost
per
voters
taxpayer?
about $200 over the course of a year.
Oh, okay. I would
That's
suggest
that's changed, Ron. That's changed.
I would think that that's a little bit off. And the reason it's off is because if in fact the 1 mil increase was put into play, they would cost them that. But as the millage is declining, the tax to the consumers goes down. And
Okay.
he didn't say that it would be that for this year, but if you didn't vote for the millage, your taxes would drop by 400 or 600. That
Yeah.
didn't come up.
Right.
So I would say that is similar to the senior citizens mailer,
Right.
and that's a sales approach.
Mm-hmm.
But according to
Mackinac.
Mackinac Center,
Mhm.
yeah, that it's allowed. And
Okay.
in my hand, I have the actual November versus May election data from a couple years ago, and this is from our law firm from the school,
Okay.
from Truin and the and PFM. And the November election, the passage rate was 31%. And then you go to a May election, the same era,
Mhm.
maybe the next year, right, was
Mhm.
74%. So
Right.
there was definitely a difference.
Oh, and they know it, and that's why they do it then.
Yeah.
This is all over the place. They do this.
And that leads me to the next issue.
Okay.
The other reason I'm here.
All right.
There's been reported information that was and recorded,
Mhm.
and it was done during an interview that the president of the school board presented, and the superintendent was there, and it said that if the bond doesn't pass, it'd be necessary to cut back on programming and extracurriculars. Now, Brighton Area Schools prides itself on their programs, opportunities for students.
Sure.
I can share with you that I was there for years and actually been there for decades. And I can tell you that that's not the case. But I'm not on the board anymore. I'm no longer a board member. But he said, noting the district would otherwise have to rely more heavily on operating dollars to handle major facility needs. Using operational funds would limit Brighton's ability to continue offering the breadth of programming it now provides.
Okay.
Now, to me, this brings me back to 2007 when they canceled busing because they didn't have $100,000 in the bank on a $2 million budget. And when that happened, it was 05, 06, 07. The kids, they had them walking.
Mhm.
They actually stopped the buses. And that particular process I have never forgotten. And I went in, I had a meeting with the superintendent, and we had an agreement, and he had buses rolling like the following Monday.
Mhm.
But the point is that they were leveraging the citizens
Sure.
to promote the bond.
No, the word isn't leveraging. The word is punishing.
And
if you don't get the bond, we're going to make your kids walk, and that's very powerful.
And they did. They walked for quite a while.
Sure.
They were walking from where I live out in Greenwood
And that's
Township.
weird because most of them don't do that. They just threaten.
They did it.
Oh.
So what this brought back, though, was with the board president saying this, and I did call a board member today, specifically on this topic. I said, did you guys have any conversation at the school board table, or did you approve any such cuts? He said none. They never had a discussion on this. There was never a discussion when the president of the board made this statement. So he did it on his own. And I'm not so sure that's legitimate. That could be an issue.
Okay.
And it's not for me to decide anymore on that, but if it came without the endorsement of the school board and they're going to cut programs, that's not so good.
That's right.
And the superintendent was present, though, and he didn't straighten him out. He heard him say it. So that's what I have to say about that. And
Okay.
I think we covered the voting percentages for May versus the November election. And I'll share with you too that you think about the head count, the actual percentage turnout for a May election can be as low as 15%, 20%, possibly 25%. We'll see this year with the voting situation where people are getting ballots direct mailed to them, and that could help. And I hope it does. I hope a lot of people get to vote besides absentee, they have their direct ballot. But the other elections, the gubernatorial election, we plan on 60% or so to 70%, and then a presidential, we could see 80%. And the interesting thing is some of these bonds passed during those November dates. They passed pretty good. They had, here's in November, they had 68% of them go. Here's another November date, 75% of them passed. Here's another November date, 74%. So the results are still decent if the idea is it meets the muster, but obviously this bond is just too much at the 156 million. What are we going to talk about next? It's up to me.
It's always up to you, John.
Well, I was hoping that we would have our board members present. I invited the board members. The board members declared very loudly that they were not the ones that supposedly supposed to talk about it. It's only the president that's supposed to talk about it, despite Alicia Urbane being all over social media defending the bond. But apparently when it comes to the podcast, only the president can. So, all right. Well,
there we are.
That leads us
Presidents, I want to make it really, really clear. The purpose of this podcast is not to do fair and balanced news. Not that I want I want anything other than facts on here, but I feel most of the media presents the left side pretty well. That's why this is called the right side, the Republican side of this. Now, if there's two Republican sides to something, I'm willing to let them both play. But I'm not doing a Republican side and a non-Republican side. That's not going to happen. So I invited the 3 Republican members of the Brighton School Board. They all 3 declined. There we are. And we're here.
So let's go to education in the public schools. Let's go to that audio that we have.
Okay.
And let's play this. This is a board meeting from last year, I believe November, December.
Okay, here we go.
Hold me to it.
Hang on. Where's the there's no audio. Hang on.
I saw it, but it disappeared when you went full screen.
Huh?
I saw it, but it disappeared when you went full screen.
Right here.
What we're digging up
Hold on. I might have to. You saw it? Where?
At the very bottom there, next to the pause.
Next to this. Oh, right here. Oh.
This video has a board member and our director of curriculum speaking about the reading level. And in that, the reading level was confirmed for our grade school students at 57%. And Alicia, Miss Urbane, was questioning the superintendent of curriculum about this percentage. And our superintendent of curriculum said that we were doing well and this is a good average. And Alicia said no. she said she didn't feel that we should be waiting for the state to fix this reading issue. So here Brighton Area Schools is this top player, and I mean we, and I say we, but our school, our town school, has done a great job really working hard at it, but our number is still 57%, and what the superintendent curriculum was saying is that our number at 57% was really good compared to state averages. My part in the vote no on the bond campaign was I gave him an F for reading. Straight scale, I mean that percentage is an F. It's worse than an E. But at least Alicia Urbane, our board member, was working on making it better. And this bond can't be related to instruction. It's not allowed to be. This is for fixtures, equipment, and things. And
none of which will help students do better.
That's the whole plan.
Yes.
Right? And that'll get us into the finances of the school. Brighton Area Schools, when I left out the year prior to leaving, I believe I was the finance chair. And then the next year, I think our board president decided we didn't need a finance committee because he didn't like what I was doing with getting money to students, I think. But I'll just say that as a comment.
Okay.
But I left him with 25 million, give or take, in a fund equity position. And then they wound up, I think they got near 30 million, give or take, and the school decided on their budget. You want to put up our budget?
Sure.
The school decided, through the administration, advised the board to pull, I think, 9.5 million. Right there's the 9.5. We'll start there actually. That was an allocation.
Wait, that's two. Do you want the first page or
yeah, we'll go to in a second. There's the first page. But
okay.
They rely on both each other. Our available budget to appropriate was 149 million. And then they used up 126 million of it and left us 22 million in fund equity and 26. Okay. Well, that 22 million, if you go to the next slide, you can add that 9.5 million to it. We're well over 30 million. And they pulled the money out and put it in we'll call it a maintenance fund. What's it called? A capital projects fund.
Yeah.
Okay, so that 9.5 million came out, so it didn't look like we had so much money in the bank, and they were going to use it on projects to come. And I think it was reported that a misinformation cue towards the vote no group that they really only have 4.5 million. Well, that may be true today, but when this budget was set up for 25 and 26, that's the amount, the 9.5 million. So I would say with their comment to 4.5 million is they're false. There's a $9.5 million taken out of the general fund to go into projects. Now I understand they spent it down some. I think they bought a couple $1 million.
Tyler's that on there.
Couple $1 million piece football fields, and take a look here and see what we got. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's go back to the main sheet, the first sheet there.
Okay.
So that's the budget for Brighton Area Schools. Now, you wonder why it's so big. When I started years and years ago, it was 50 million plus or minus.
Oh my gosh.
And now it's here. Now we don't have any more students. We only have 40 or 5,800 plus or minus approximately students, and we're kind of steady on the enrollment. We decline and go up a little bit, and I think they're doing well in this economy. But we have what they call a shared service program. That shared service program generates as a sidebar dollars that come in totally separate from everything else that we do, 45 million a year in gross revenue.
And that's not on here?
It's on there. It's in the $149 million budget.
Okay.
So the point is, though, that this money comes in, we contract our teachers out to other schools, and it's a wonderful program for Brighton Area Schools, and it's a wonderful program for other schools to have the opportunity to have the professional staff that we can offer. At the end of the day, that program generates a profit. Okay, the gross revenue of 45 million is just that. It's a huge, expensive program to run, and the cost to run it is high. But if I threw a stone in the pond and just put a guess at the receipts from that, what we would net, I would think this year somewhere between 8 and 10 million. Now, those are just speculative from me. That's not a confirmed number. I did call the superintendent of finance today, but he did not call me back because I had that specific question to ask him. So that's an approximate number because we've had some years that were 3 million, some years that were 7 million. I'm expecting this year, because the numbers are up so high, that heading for $10 million. So now what happens is you have a per pupil funding at the highest it's ever been in history. Brighton area schools also received, and all schools did, a bump of about $450 per student.
Oh my gosh.
Now Brighton area schools is different than most schools. We have 5,800 students in our classroom, but we also have 4,500 shared service students that we also get that $450 bump from. So all this cash comes into Brighton area schools, and it's supposed to be used for students. It's not sustainable because that program could change at any time, and you don't know that you're going to get it one year or the next, but it's been sustainable for us since 2000, I believe 11, 12, 13. And that was a brainchild of Dr. Greg Gray and Maria Gessinger, Dr. Gessinger, and Miles View, myself and Bill Trombley. We all got behind that, and I remember seeing the first check come in from it. And it's done great things for Brighton students and Brighton schools. But when it's not shown as part of they don't want to show it to everybody because it creates competition, right? Other schools want to do the same thing. I can share with you with high confidence that we're the largest shared service provider in the state of Michigan, and maybe in the country. I don't know.
All right, we got some questions up here, so
Sure, great.
Here we go. Really sad they chose not to participate. While they were running, they made quite a few appearances. Oh, here we are. Deb, you aren't telling the truth. I said from the first minute you mentioned this that I had a conflict. I was just about to listen when working on other things. I don't know what I means. Well, Alicia, I haven't. It was Katie that responded to your three-way text between you, me, and Katie saying it needs to be the president talking. I have it. I can put it up there. If you want me to take a screenshot of it and do it, I will do that. Matter of fact, I might just do that anyways. I am telling the truth. I was told only the president can do this. Here we go. John, isn't it true that the community has approved 11 consecutive bonds since 1964? Can you give an elevator speech on how to get the message out to vote no? Did you get that? Go ahead.
Well, we're doing our best now. We've got signage out. We've done. We put out, I believe, 21,000 mailers went out. We can't match the school budget, to be honest. The school budget, I've kind of looked at their finances on from the accounting side. It looks like they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, thousands.
I think the elevator speech he's looking at isn't so much how to do it or what's being done. It's basically, so what would you advise in an elevator speech, meaning 2 sentences?
Yeah.
How would you tell somebody else to tell everybody they know to vote no? What would you say?
Oh, I just think it's grossly over. It's just too much money.
Way too much money and
too much
unnecessary?
Way too much money and not going to the essential needs. We have almost $1 million classroom that we built as a prototype at Brighton area schools. And I understand this from a reliable source, which is a board member, that nobody's used this classroom to date. This is an experimental science lab that they built that will have the ideal science world for our students to come. So I would just say that we have enough money in the general fund, in the budget, to build $1 million science lab and not use it.
Okay.
I was told that the ventilation hood in the science lab was $250,000 and it's never been turned on. So that would be my thing. I would just say that the bond is just it's way more than we need. And the other thing is to talk about, there are things besides a bond of a long-term and commitment like this one. We can do a sinking fund, which can be money that's taken every year without interest. This bond, I asked our finance chief what the interest rate was going to be. He said he didn't know yet. I said, what about approximately? They're thinking 4%. So this $156 million doesn't come without an interest rate. So those are big taxing issues for citizens. Now our bond rate is low as far as what we're paying in mills for the schools right now. but it should be low. Everybody's worked hard. Lower taxes are good. We have a lot of downtown businesses. We have a lot of property owners that own houses and buildings in our community that don't have a vote on this. And
I think we need to tell you what an elevator speech is. We left an elevator speech 16 sentences ago.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so we have to give what Rob is looking for is what are 2 sentences you could tell people. So Rob wants to know what. Okay.
The bond is way too much. And there's enough
it's
money.
It's not addressing the essential services that they need.
Well,
okay, then never mind. Give me the second sentence.
You could debate that because.
Give me the second sentence. That's all I want.
The second sentence.
It's way too much and
it's not focused on students advancing in school.
All right, there we go. That's our student. Thank you. That's what they need. Everything you're saying is factual, but nobody here is going to. Yes, nobody's going to remember this. So hold on. We're going to get to some questions here.
Good.
Okay. Well, we've been live since you started talking.
Oh, good.
Okay. So Lisa says, let me get that out of there. Okay. Lisa says Brighton Area Schools is acting in greed. In her opinion, with the economy where it is, they should be ashamed of themselves. Most of their constituents are hurting financially. So I also have something here. Let me just do this real quick. Download, open file. Hang on. Save as. That goes into.
Check your file type before you do that.
It's a ping. It's good. Thanks. Okay, the bond BS. Okay. So, as to Ms. Urbain's accusation that I am not telling the truth, let us get rid of it. Let's deal with that right now. Okay, let's bring something up here. This was the final image file. This was the final in my repeated requests. What's going on here? Oh, fiddle fooey. Here we go.
I think you saved it.
I think I saved it?
I don't think you saved it.
You don't think I did? I thought I did. Okay, let's try this again. Download. Open file. Save as. And save. Okay. Let's try again. I just want to make this clear. I'm not a big fan of being told that I'm lying. So there we are. That's to the comment of. Did it show up here? Hang on. Image file. Okay, hold on. There, as to the fact that I am not telling the truth, there it is. This was the very last policy, the very last text I got. We discussed this per board policy. Our board president's role is to function as a spokesperson. He is the only one that per policy should be speaking at this event. So, Alicia, you can just, I'll take your apology now. I do not make things up and I do not tell untruths. No, I said, no, here we go. You called me out for being on social media about the bond. Yes. No, it was, I was told per that statement right there that you can read, that the board president role is the one who's supposed to do it. And yet you were speaking about it everywhere else. So which one's correct? Either you could speak about it and you didn't, or Katie was telling not the truth. I did show your response right there. There it is. The problem is you did tell me that, but Katie told me that it wasn't about that. So I am not talking about you saying something wrong. I am saying Katie said nobody could talk about it. And I said, and yet you were talking about it. Nothing incorrect about that. Nothing inconsistent. There you go. So Anyway, so there it is right there. It's right there. He is the only one that per policy. And I argue with that statement because you were talking about it. I didn't say it was your response. I know it wasn't your response. It was Katie's, but board policy, wouldn't that apply to you? What I'm saying is your statement and her statement conflict. No argument there. Okay, here we go. Go back to your stuff.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So this is a good time to throw this in, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Roger, I shouldn't say that. The board president, you know, with his mentioning that the programs were going to change and they would maybe have to modify those programs so that students, you know, they might not have the same benefits they have today, is, I believe, the implied written statement. That really sets wrong with me because, again, like we talked about, the board, I talked to a board member, was there any board discussion on that? There was no board discussion on it. Did the board approve it? No. So this will bring me to the next point. In, I don't know, 2018 or so, maybe 19, I started working on a JROTC program for Brighton area schools. I personally brought in Major Miller, brought in our veterans from our American Spirit Center, and we started to get the ball rolling. Couldn't get traction. I tried. Came back, got reelected in, I think, 2020, and brought the program back before the school board. It took a long time. It was weeks after weeks after weeks of trying to get this rolling. And we finally got a program. We had an approved program. The way it got approved was I went to the county commissioners and Jay Drick, Nick Fiani, Dave Domas, the whole board.
Roger Beaton.
Yeah, Roger was involved, yeah, and Frank. But we were able to get ARPA funding to support an NJROTC program at Brighton High Schools, fully funded, no cost to the school. That program was set to run in 25-26. And the student enrollment was low to start, and the Navy had been into our school. I met the Navy chief there, and we went through our classroom, and we had uniforms hanging. We had the whole program up and ready. And he said he didn't care how many students were in the program. Didn't matter to start. He said if they wanted a paid for program, at the time it was 100, and then it would drop to 50. Now it's 50 for sure. And the Navy will actually fund it. And Howell has a really successful Air Force program with roughly 100 students, and they do a great job, run over a decade now. And so anyway, we were approved. The board agreed that it should run. One of the board members set a number on the number of students required, and that'd be Alicia Reed. And the board supported that there had to be, I think, 10 if I recall, and I think we had 3. So instead of, and the county commissioners as well didn't care how many students there were. Didn't matter if there was one. It was, they were willing to fund this program as long as that funding, they gave us $150,000 to start. And so it wouldn't cost the school a dime to run this program. Well, they had their kids and they canceled the program. And I think that, talk about canceling programs, that program offered more to students than a lot of programs in our school. And I'll relate to one particularly, and if I recall the correct number, there's 6 sections of Bake Shop. Now, are we telling me that our students couldn't use an NJROTC program more than the Bake Shop class? I would think that students would be excited to learn about their country. And in our Navy program would accept all students. And the other thing the superintendent did not do, which he should have done, and he said he would do, was it should have went out countywide. It was a program that we developed through the Board of Commissioners. It would be a countywide offering, and not just for Brighton students. And when I talked to management in the school one day about it, they said, well, we usually like to get them running first, and then we'll offer them to the county. Well, this one it needed to be offered to the county to get the student count to start the program. So you talk about doing away with the program. I still have a kind of a nail in my toe on this, that I just cannot believe that it didn't get a start. And And that's not the only thing they've done lately. That just happened this year for this calendar school year. The other thing they did recently was they told our Kiwanis Club they couldn't use Brighton area schools property for their car shows for the weekends during the summer. And they were moved out of downtown after construction and really doesn't fit there now after they've done the construction. And the school had been used the last few years without any trouble, zero troubles. There wasn't any. And the senior citizens, the kids, the hot rods all showed up there on Sunday and the band played. They were out of there probably by 9 or so. And apparently there was an agreement done years ago that made it where we couldn't have a show on Sunday if it wasn't related to the school. Well, I would suggest that there were no complaints. Apparently there was one. Now this is years of shows, no problems. So now all those seniors, all the hot rod enthusiasts, all the kids who came, the grandchildren, the kids to visit and look at the cool cars, don't have a place to go because they've canceled the car show entirely for the summer because of that. They couldn't find another place that they could get in. The school thought they were going to find a place, I believe, at the ski lodge. Something to do with permitting wasn't allowed, and so the car shows have been canceled. Now this is on Mad Outlaw's watch. I asked specifically a board member if that was brought before the board, and they said no. Them not having the car shows there. But I don't think a small discussion with the resident who may have had a complaint would have been out of line, and seeing if we couldn't come to some peace on that.
That's amazing.
It's really a shame though.
It is.
And
all right, we're going to take just a quick video or commercial break here, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Someone once said, where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart. What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to investing intentionally.
Okay, we're back. All right, he's on to his next subject here. And while he's looking, I'm going to make something really clear here over this situation here with the Brighton School Board members. I asked the school board members if they wanted to come on. I was told 2 separate stories, okay? One of them was, by Alicia, I can't, I got a conflict. Okay. But Katie then responded and said, only the board president per policy should be doing it. Now, Alicia said she couldn't because of the conflict. Katie came back and said, nope, nobody can do it anyway. It needs to be the board president. And my statement was, it was interesting that I was told that the policy was only board president, despite Alicia being all over social media. So which one was fact? Was Alicia breaking rules, or was Katie just unaware of the rules? Maybe she didn't know that she could talk, but it had nothing to do. I was not telling the truth, Alicia, period. That's just the way it is. The way it is I was told nobody but the president, not by you, but by another board member. And I took exception to her saying that because you were all over social media. So take yourself out of the equation. This had nothing to do with you. Okay, next. She personally discussed the car show with the complaining folks in the Kiwanis and made calls to help them be able to have it, which doesn't change the fact that the decision was made without board. Is that your point, that the decision was made without board?
It was 100%. The superintendent made it. It never came in front of the board for a decision from the school board, because if it had, I would have been in there to call the public and lobbied for the Kiwanis car show. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity for our citizens and residents in Brighton. And who pays the taxes in Brighton School but all the people in the community? That school's theirs. It belongs to the citizens of our town. And it's a shame that it didn't work out for the Kiwanis Club. And I don't think it was our superintendent's intention that it wouldn't work out. He thought they had an alternative spot to go, but they don't. They don't have a place to go. But I think that battle would have been worth fighting on behalf of the citizens that were using the facility. Maybe they could have started an hour sooner. There's always options. Yeah. And it didn't happen.
Okay.
But okay, let's move on to this education thing and the bond. So the main thing that the bond wants to present is a higher security package. They want the schools to be safe and secure, which 100% I support.
Sure.
Safe and secure schools. But I will share with you, if you can find the security slide, Brighton area schools isn't lacking in security. It's we'll pull this up. It's actually rated as one of the top in the state, if not in the United States. When Mr. Trombley and myself were on the board, along with others that are there currently and before them, security has always been put at the front of the wagon. We never skimped on it. When new ideas came in, we budgeted for those, and but here's the situation. Now, how in this time? So this comes from the hired gun that we bring in, and the founder and president of Secure Environmental, and he claims that Brighton is the tops in security. He even goes on to say that there's a few things. There are areas for improvement, but they're very minor. And so this is a huge testament to all the work that has been done.
Okay.
Now, what is it out of this $156 million bond that we've got to spend? We don't even know how much, because this is a, what's it called, unqualified?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is going to be up to this is going to be up to the board to spend it however they want to when they decide how much to spend on it. So this gentleman's a professional in his task, and he, let's see what he was. He is a security policies, stakeholders, every letter consultant told us this is probably the best district that he's assessed in the state. So what's this big thing about security? Okay, we got these schools that have the best assessment in the state. Sure, we can make them better. I'm sure we can. And I believe they should be better. But being it's the front of the bond, and it makes people think that they're not safe, it gets the voter to think that I better vote for this bond. Not unlike where our board president said that the programs will be cut if the bond doesn't pass. Security will not change in Brighton area schools if the bond passes or doesn't pass. Our board will do things that are right to keep students safe. I truly believe that. I know it. I just know they won't let us down. And the other thing, when such there are areas for improvement but are very minor. So there's a huge testament. As we say that and go over here, that they're so minor, there's just small projects to do. So I'd like to know, and then maybe somebody will call on this and they can tell us exactly. And in fact, Alicia, she's directly related. Alicia, tell us, how much money is set out of this $156 million bond for security improvements? That would be very beneficial.
The security improvements that are already top notch, according to this guy.
This guy here, and he's no dummy.
No, and frankly, security, because technology changes.
Sure.
It may be that there's extra stuff. I'd be curious to know how much there is.
It says.
Of course, all that we have now is, unless I have it on paper, I don't know that I'd buy it anyway.
So this gentleman says, we're very impressed. And it continues, Russell, who is a former Secret Service agent, as part of his contract with the district, was paid out of a grant money of $18,000. So if he was to find anything, he would have said it.
Okay.
That's good.
Candy says the Kiwanis Club is a great organization, gives funds generated back to the community. Thank you for your efforts in informing the community.
I love the Kiwanis Club.
Who doesn't love the Kiwanis?
They do an awesome job.
They do.
So that takes care of another thing about the bond and the application and this business about putting that front and center. Security is a big draw for citizens, but they don't know that we're that good.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about this education for just a second. So our college graduation rate from Brighton High School, we send 78% of our students from Brighton High School go to college.
Okay.
In 4 years, after 4 years of college, 28.5% graduate.
28% of the 78%.
You got it. And then the next year after that, it goes up the fifth year, 46% graduate. And then after that, in 6 years, it's 51.5. Now, how does this bond go towards that and help our students become more college ready in a business that they've known this for years? This particular counts.
So that's what it tells me, is that your test scores, your data says that Brighton is graduating kids who are not able and ready for college.
It's still one of the highest percentages in the state, though. That's what the
it's a high percentage of graduation.
It is. They're doing a really good job.
So they get them into college, but they're not prepared for college.
Well, that 51% graduate, and I think I pulled up Heartlands and Howells. We're leading the pack from graduation from Brighton schools. Okay, that's a high number, 51%, and this is 2023 and 24 numbers. And this started in 18 and 19, this survey, and this was provided, this is provided for me from LESA directly. This is accurate to the number, exactly.
Wow.
And so my thoughts are, again, we as a school system, and I'm a mechanic by trade, as you know, and I look at things that are mechanically, if it's mechanically done right, and the engineer said to a certain torque value on something, we follow what the engineer said in the field. There's opportunities out there. There's scholastic opportunities. There's a group that put together a new program, and it's I'm looking for it. And they took a state that was, oh, by the way, we're rated like 45th in the country. Michigan is that poorly rated in this level of schools and performance. And with that, I'll bring this idea up. We should be investing, and this is Mississippi's. They went from the worst to the top.
Yes, they're
5.
like legendary for how
Well,
they
we
did
have
that.
the skills, though. This is the thing. We have the staff. We have the professional level people in our school that can make this happen. And the Mackinac Center is outlining the steps for literacy improvement in Michigan. So they took it right to the top, from the bottom to the top, in a short number of years, be it 5 to 10 years. And we continue to stumble at 56%, which that tape, which Alicia we couldn't hear, she said 57%. And
I don't know what happened there.
well, it's okay, because she's online and she can maybe chime in and tell us that was the number. And she was working towards doing better. She didn't accept that from our superintendent of curriculum. She said, we can do better than that, and she's correct.
Oh, absolutely.
But the investments we need to make are right here.
Are in there, not necessarily in the other stuff.
It's right here. It comes down to the core principles.
And you can't use any of this bond on education.
It's
correct?
not allowed to pay for teachers. It's only
That's right.
allowed for infrastructure and things like that. But we have plenty of money. Let's talk about the money. The largest pay raises in history for Brighton area schools were given out this year. And the ones prior to that were the largest prior to that. And I haven't looked at the contract, but I believe it was tied to per pupil funding, which went up $450. So I believe everybody was well compensated. So I think our staff is being paid well.
Okay.
I think then if it's performance based, which it should be, they're being compensated like they should be. Let's get on the page. And if this program that Mississippi did is the way to go, let's go do it. We have nothing to lose. And I would give this to, I think, Alicia, you can go on the Mackinac Center and take it to our board, and you guys can look at it. I, in the past, have brought the Hillsdale history curriculum to the board. I did bring the ROTC, the NJROTC program to the board. I've done several different things, and board members can do that. That's part of our job as a community servant, is to bring those ideas. And some of the administration and some of the board would say, no, it's not our ideas. We're supposed to just approve whatever is brought to us. I'm from the other side. I don't believe that. I believe the board brings their experience and abilities to create a better environment for our students.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, we got a couple comments here. Thanks for the show you do. I found Chris Candela from your podcast and making a campaign video for him. Thank you for that. And new Comp Visuals, the last video company that did that, made a deal with me. They made me a video, and I gave them 4 months full of free commercials. So you want to do something like that, reach out. chair@livingstonrepublicans.com. Mark Ashley Price. How many Republicans and how many non-Republicans is on the school board? Well, that's debatable. Yeah. I'm not going there. Never mind. Go ahead. All right. So.
Well, and we can compare these college graduations.
Okay,
real quick.
Go ahead.
Let's do that. We have Howell's doing, I think, pretty good job. They're at a 40.63%.
Okay.
And they have a percentage that starts college of 74%.
Okay.
Where Brighton was at 78, I think. So they got a high percentage giving it a shot. And
Hold on, we got a quick question. Peggy, that was just talked about a few minutes ago. You missed it. You might want to replay it. ROTC is not available. They turned it down. He tried to get it there. They turned it down. All right, we'll go on. They wouldn't let it.
It was booked. It was curriculum, and then the school board decided to cancel it.
Yep, there you are. Go ahead.
Our friends in Heartland Schools are at a 4-year degree stage final after 6 years is 41%. And they send first year students are 72%, very similar to Howell's. But by me bringing these numbers up, it does tell us that the getting students ready for college, and we're all aware that they get to college and they've got sometimes a year of remedial work, right, to get ready to actually go to college. And then it gives the colleges more time with our students. So if they're off in the liberal side of things, some of the universities, they got even more time with these kids. And I had 2 students go to Michigan State University, my 2 daughters, and my son was U of M, and we had to work constantly at our value system. They both have done very well with their degrees. All 3 of them have. And they have, can't fault that part, but some of the other things that go on in school. So that's where I felt the ROTC was such a good thing for kids.
Sure.
So Heartland, Howell are similar, and then the in Brighton, like I said, at their 51% is ahead of everybody after 6 years of school, which is a good thing.
Okay. We got a question for you, John.
Sure.
How can you oppose the current bond as bad for seniors when you pushed for the 2019 bond that was much higher?
Well, it wasn't much higher. The 2019 bond was $60 million.
Yeah, I'm looking at 60 million versus 156.
Yeah, it was $60 million. And let me explain. That's a great question, because in the $60 million, the original bond that came before us was going to be 38 million, I think, something like that. And I said I wouldn't do it because it was carpet and ceiling tiles and this roofing stuff, the same thing you see in this one for 156 million. And I said, I'm not doing it. I said, if you give me the money to build a STEM engineering center, and you put STEM engineering centers in every school in the district, and you are willing to do that, and I had a couple other things I added in there, and our health occupations and some other classrooms, then I'm going to support your bond. And
so you had things that were related directly to student achievement.
100%.
Okay.
And
that's a good answer.
I was able to get Bill Trombley's support on that, and then the board supported it. And
All
if
right.
you can believe it, on the board vote, it was 6-1, and the engineer on the board voted no.
Oh God!
I'm like, you're kidding me. So
a twist.
So we have a state-of-the-art engineering center because we use taxpayers' money to benefit students and help them in their education. And I just spoke to a robotics coach on the way here this evening, and they are going to make the World Finals in Texas again. Now, it's a good thing to fall back on that question. It brings up a lot of things, because I remember.
Well, here comes Miss Urbane again with
what
more.
You got to say?
For someone that couldn't participate, she's participating.
Oh, that's
the
good.
2019 bond was a higher rate, so it cost residents more money than this bond will.
Well, in by mill rate, it was higher, but I'd like her to look into the taxable values of property and see, because right now their 4 mil bond request is with I think it's a 3% increase every year in property values. If that doesn't happen, there's going to be more than 4 mils, if I understand it, to pay that bond. So I would leave that as an open for discussion.
Plus, this one is not directly related to student achievement, whereas the 60 million was. So.
That's 60. Well, at
least
least
half of it. Yes.
Half of it was, and I would share with you that in the earlier bond, I got to Bill Trombley, and we were able to, in the first bond that we ran for 88 million, we were able to redirect some funds that got into programs that were part of the bond. And they were 100% advantageous to students that created an environment that wasn't there before the bond was passed. So there is some good things about bonds.
Okay.
But the key is, our bond was much smaller. It piled on the already $88 million bond. It was part of that. It kind of keeps it rolling, right?
Right.
And I got it, Alicia. I understand where you're at. And I know you want to put your mark on our district, and you're going to be there. Hopefully you'll run another term too, and you'll get it figured out. But I can share with you, I didn't do what we did to leave any mark on the district other than knowing that what the kids needed. I'd worked in the school system. I started as a parapro in 1985, working with special needs students in Brighton High School. So I've been around the schools a long time. And also a parent with students in the school and realized the shortcomings and what we didn't have. And that's what really got me going to become a board member, to make it a better place for students. And as you're aware, I coached Science Olympiad for over a decade. So all those things were great things, but I got to work with our parents and see where we were falling short. Our kids didn't have what they needed in middle school. They still were working at that, even though we have a new STEM engineering center in middle school as well. So I like I said, I applaud you what you were trying to do, but maybe when you come back, if this doesn't pass, you'll come back with a little bit more.
She says expanding classroom space in elementary schools and renovating the science rooms at Howell are let's see. Here comes all the good stuff now.
Good,
Yeah, are all
good,
impacting kids. And the central kitchen will directly impact the kids' health and learning. I see.
Well, that multi-million-dollar central kitchen, I'm sure glad you brought that up. that just is another one of my little items.
Oh my goodness.
So the multi-million-dollar central kitchen idea, which is not from Miss Urbane, but it's one of sort of Miss Tierney, and that, I believe, was when it brought that forward. Her idea of it's wonderful that we would have wonderful quality food for our students and do that, but the infrastructure cost and the movement of the food and handling all of that, I haven't heard yet but that's an all cost. And the other thing which we're forgetting is that the high school was developed for the central kitchen. It's large enough to handle the distribution. It has loading docks. It has everything in place. There doesn't need to be a whole nother building, a whole nother structure, all new kitchen, all new employees, and all new vehicles to haul this stuff everywhere between.
You mean that doesn't affect the health and learning of the children?
It's not going to help them learn another thing. But the thing is, though, it's a good thing to talk about because she's passionate about it, and I appreciate her being passionate to have good quality for the students. But this is not the method. It has to be within each school. We have to have our high school as a central kitchen if that's what she wants to do. We have a huge budget for the food service part of it that we have to spend specifically on food service, millions. So,
all right, you got any wrapping up here? We're kind of running over time here.
Yeah.
So you got anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, I do. All right, we talked about our Mr. Finley. We talked about other options, which would be a sinking fund versus a large bond. Sinking funds, you can put a 1, 2, or 3 mil sinking fund together that will make a big impact. I did bring up the other school options that have performed very well. We talked about this particular bond. There's been no discussion about the interest on the bond. I'd like to have the board discuss that with their finance director to see what the actual interest expense of this thing is going to be to the taxpayers should it pass. And obviously I'm hoping it doesn't. And when they come back with another one, should they come back, and they may need to.
They're going to have to.
They're going to have to come back with something that has all this read into it. And the other thing I would like is I'd say a board censor type of thing. I'm not sure what they should do with the board president for claiming that he's going to cut programs without their permission. I believe it should be topic front and center that gets resolved. And that if he didn't have their authorization in a board setting, board in session, to make that statement, then things should be addressed.
Okay.
I would just request that they do that because you shouldn't go around scaring.
No, the scare tactics. Yes, that's wrong.
They're scaring our parents and they're scaring our students.
And it's obvious that they don't think they've done anything wrong. Everything is justified. All this stuff is just absolutely needed, and somehow all the kids are going to get better test scores and everything else because of it. So there's just no. I've yet to hear anything other than defense tactics. So. Well,
I think that there was one other thing I think on this deal here on the fact or fiction sheet that we probably should address. Let's take a quick look here. Parking, and it said here. It was on the very bottom. If we could get to that.
Well, it won't show up for some reason.
Okay, that's okay. Well, on our fact or fiction sheet, everybody can go to the Wrighton website, and I do recommend they do that. It's not bad. It gives you their point of view, and that's acceptable according to Mackinac Center. So on the bottom, I'll read it to you. It says, if people vote no, it will help us improve reading, math, science, and job skills. I mean, obviously that isn't going to help anything, right, on that. But it said the response is forcing the district to divert money from classrooms to infrastructure and construction costs that are typically funded by school bonds will not help the district improve academics. There's another threat.
Yes, it is.
And we have, again, if you look at our funds and look at the amount of money coming into our district, we have enough money to do pretty much everything we need to do. And when they do need to run a bond for something that's significant,
okay,
I think the voters will stand behind it.
All right. Well, this
So
show gets to about 3,000 to 5,000 people, so we'll see how this works, and we'll push it out. And everybody's welcome to make up their own mind, but John does his homework, and it'd be very important for everybody else to do your homework. Tyler, John, what's an email somebody can reach you if they have questions?
JJ Conley.
JJ Conely.
Yeah. At gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
And glad to take any questions. And again, and anybody that says they know everything.
Here we go. Here, where can we get vote no yard signs?
We have some here
We've
tonight.
got some here at the Victory Center.
We brought some in, and there'll be some at the shop. And
yep.
So just send me an email.
Send an email. And let's see right here. JJ Conley. Conley. I say Conley because when I spell it Conley if I say Conley. So JJ Conley. At gmail.com. And you can reach out. They'll get you a vote no sign. Yep. And they've made a bunch of them. We've got a bunch here at the Victory Center if anybody wants one. I know we'll be here Saturday, the 25th. That's this Saturday. We'll be doing a kickoff for Brian Ignatowski, the 48th District State Rep candidate. He's kicking off his big walk, his public walk days this Saturday at 10 o'clock here at the Victory Center. And I'm making breakfast for anybody that wants. So come at 8:30 and you can have some pancakes and bacon or not sausage, no, bacon, sausage, pancakes and sausage and eggs and potatoes fried with bunny seasoning. And I'm telling you right now, you just hang on, it's coming. So anyway, all right, you're welcome. We'll get that to you. So you can come when you come Saturday if you want to pick up one of the signs. We have them here. You better reach out to John. And reach out to John here. So, John, I don't know if I need to give you a shovel or a wheelbarrow or something to take all your material. I have never had anybody here on this show have so much data. And just so you know, I tried to download everything I could and it didn't work. So, oh God, now he's got notes.
I got just one more thing.
All right, one more thing. Go ahead.
Obviously, the commitment to these students is a high bar for us.
I know it is for you.
And it is for all of us. The students are important, and job skills and getting them so they have a healthy life is the goal. And I would just shoot that back to our school friends and our school boards across our county and across our state, because it really is an important job to be a school board member. And I'd like to see more people run. And I would share with you, there's a lot of good that can come from it, and don't be afraid to put your name on the ballot here coming up. There's I believe 3 seats open in Brighton, and
there's seats open in every place. Yeah.
So please, consider it and bring your
skills. Reach out to the party. The party will help you. If you're conservative, we'll help you get on a school board.
You bet, and bring your ideas to the board, and it takes everybody. It takes our whole village, and I didn't get into history a lot, but my family will celebrate in a few years about 200 years in this community, and they virtually settled in Brighton Township, and we're so fortunate to live in a great town. And I built my retirement house about 2 miles from my other house, so that's where I'm at. I'll be here. And, glad to help if we can. So
thanks for coming on, and thanks for listening. Thanks for all the good questions. So we're gonna call it a night. So remember, this Thursday is our 4th Thursday dinner. All Republicans welcome. Whether you're a member or not, come down and meet with us, talk with us. We will be at Jana's, the new Jana's, what used to be the Beeline on D19 Pinckney Road, between Howell, right there, Pinckney and Schaefer. And then Saturday, once again, we have the Brighton or the Ignatowski Walk Day. So come on down and get a hold of me if you want to come scramble some eggs. If not, come on down and enjoy breakfast and walk a few doors with Brian. So we're going to call it a night. So everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next Tuesday.